Welcome to the Cohn Zone, everyone. I'm Grant. That's Lowell. We're the Cohns, and we're in the zone. Usually we're in the zone on Tuesday mornings. Now we're doing it today, a Wednesday afternoon. Dad, explain to the people what happened this week.
Well, I live in the Oakland Hills, and it was extremely windy up here. So PG&E cut off power because they were afraid there'd be fires in the Oakland Hills. So we didn't have electricity for almost 48 hours, starting on Sunday night and ending finally on Tuesday night. So I wanted to do the Cohn Zone, Z-O-H-N is how we spell it, with Grant yesterday on Tuesday, but I didn't have internet. I didn't have power. I didn't have zilch, but I'm back. I was able to finally take a shower and shave and brush my teeth with the electric toothbrush and all that stuff. I love electricity. I got to tell you,
it's underrated.
I think it's underrated. It must be God. It's probably God, electricity, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, Dad. Look who's shut up. Look who's saying hi. You see?
Oh, Francis. Hi, Francis.
Francis works at the meat department at Safeway.
He's in charge of the meat department.
Excuse me. And
Francis.
A quick hello to Larry Mullins, dedicated viewer. We love you.
Hi, Larry.
Dad, first question I have for you today is, do you think the 49ers will beat the Seahawks Sunday night in Seattle, and why or why not?
Okay. I'm not going to say they will beat them because lots of funny things happen. I sure think they can beat them.
Why?
I don't bet on things. I don't know how to bet, but I sure think they can beat them. And I'm going to give you one very specific reason. I don't know that the Seahawks defense can keep up with the Niners with their offense. I mean, they had a lot of trouble. I'm talking about the Seahawks with Arizona. I think they may have a lot of trouble with Kyle Shanahan. And here's the other thing, which is really what I should have started with. The Niners are really hot.
Yeah.
They were really cold, and I wrote them off. And Iggy, now they're really hot. And I tend to go with the hot team.
Agree. They just destroyed the Patriots in New England. The Seahawks just lost. Now, the only thing that gives me pause is we've done this before. Remember in 2012, we went to New England. We saw the Niners beat Bill Belichick there, and the next game was in Seattle. And remember, you and I went to Seattle, and we were having dinner at the Metropolitan Grill. And the waiter came up to us and said, "Who do you think's going to win tomorrow?" We laughed. And we said, "The Niners are going to win." He said, "Oh, you think so, huh? You think so? All right, we'll see. We'll see." And I think the Niners lost by 30. That was interesting. They were exhausted.
They were exhausted. It's one of the great steakhouses in America.
And you can get Cherry's Jubilee there.
We got So, okay. So look, that's why I'm not saying they will win. I'm saying they can win. What about you? How do you look at it?
I think the Niners will win. They should. I think they should win. I don't know if they will win. That's different. But I think they should win, even though they're on the road and they're probably underdogs. The way I look at it is the Niners have a defense. The Seahawks don't. Like, the Seahawks defensive coordinator is Ken Norton Jr. I don't know why Pete Carroll keeps bringing that guy back, but imagine if he had Robert Sala instead. If he could have identified which guy was the genius in training. He got the wrong guy. So the defense is ranked dead last in the league. That's for starters. And they have no run game anymore, Dad. They used to be a team that was committed to running the ball. All their running backs are hurt. Carlos Hyde's hurt. The only rushing threat they have is Russell Wilson. So if you can contain him, and the Niners have had a lot of practice with those kind of quarterbacks this year, then they're a totally one-dimensional offense. Now, they do have a great quarterback and very good wide receivers, but one-dimensional offense going against a complete team. And it seems like Robert Sala is smart enough to be able to shut down a one-dimensional offense, even if it has some talent.
Iggy, is Carlos Hyde going to play?
I don't know. And even if he does, who cares?
That's right. It was clear that Kyle Shanahan didn't think anything of him.
For good reason.
Yeah. He's what I always felt about him was after the first hit, he went down. He
Absolutely
didn't break tackles and keep running.
He didn't run the way he looked like he should run.
I agree.
He kept wanting to bounce outside when they drafted him to go between the tackles.
Yeah.
So look, I've been talking to our cousin, the football expert, and what we've decided is that the best way to shut down this offense of the Seahawks is you got to spy Russell Wilson. You can't let him run around, and put a man marker on Tyler Lockett. That's the go-to guy in the passing game, the wide receiver. The other guys, DK Metcalf will catch a couple passes a game. Greg Olsen will catch a couple passes a game. So what you can do is play zone everywhere, put one guy on Tyler Lockett, make Russell Wilson throw anywhere else, and make him not run. It's the Bill Belichick principle of defense. Take away the two things they want to do best. They want to do most. See what they can do after that.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So I'm saying they can win, and you're saying they should win.
Yes.
So we're pretty positive about this.
Absolutely. Yes. Which brings us to topic number 2.
Could I just before we get to topic number 2?
Please.
You had mentioned Ken Norton Jr., who, by the way, when he was with the
Raiders,
I know I'm slow today. When he was with the Raiders, I tried so many times to get interviews with him, and never. I think he must be a very nervous person. But Iggy, I knew his dad. I knew the fighter, Ken Norton. He was a very nice man. And what I want, I'm talking boxing for a minute. For any of you people, he broke Ali's jaw and beat Ali. They fought 3 times. Ali took the next 2 decisions. I'm not sure Ali ever beat him. He was a rough, tough fighter, but he couldn't take a shot. So he
was a good matchup against Ali because Ali couldn't deliver a shot. Yeah.
And also a good matchup against Larry Holmes because he didn't hit that hard either.
Interesting.
But put him against Ernie Shavers, Jerry Cooney, or George Foreman. He couldn't last a round or 2 because he couldn't take a shot.
Ernie Shavers fought George Foreman, right? No, it was Lyle. It was Lyle.
What was Ron Lyle? Oh, it's one of the greatest fights ever.
I love that fight.
If you guys are interested, you go on YouTube. Ron Lyle, Lyle, against George Foreman. It's one of the most exciting fights ever. Like a barroom brawl.
Yeah, it's about 5 or 6 rounds. It's fantastic. And they each knock each other down multiple times. It's great.
Okay, what's the next topic?
All right, topic number 2. We were very hard on Robert Sala and Kyle Shanahan earlier this season for good reason. They deserved it. They've done quite well the past 2 weeks. What do you admire most about Kyle Shanahan? Let's start with him.
Okay. My issue with Kyle Shanahan always is leadership. Again, we grant him that he's an excellent offensive coordinator, which is not the same thing as a head coach. I thought his leadership was in the tank when he lost to those 2 crummy teams 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And I was really down on him. I didn't think he was displaying leadership at all. All of a sudden, he rises up. He beats a good team, the Rams. Now, of course, New England is not a good team, but they have a great coach and a great defensive mind. And you know what? Shanahan outcoached him.
Yep.
So Shanahan outcoached Belichick, no question in my mind. And he was able to rally a team that was floundering. I got to say, I'd never really seen him do that before. I admire that. What about you?
Right. We had mentioned that, like, what this team needs is not the next gadget play. It needs psychological handholding from the leader, Kyle Shanahan, and he did that. He did it perfectly. Now, I still have questions about his leadership, and I think the questions I have, he can only answer in the Super Bowl. So we'll see about that. But what I want to say is I've actually nitpicked his coordinator acumen a lot through the years. What he's done the last 2 weeks in terms of just X's and O's and working around the limit that Jimmy Garoppolo has presented him, because Jimmy Garoppolo got injured, he got benched, he lost a little confidence. They're trying to build him up from the bottom. And I think Kyle Shanahan has done like the best job you could possibly do. The 2 game plans he had to beat the Rams and Patriots were basically a lot of runs and extended handoffs, and they won. I think it was kind of like a master class of training wheels offense, and he got a bunch of points in both games. And any coach who has a quarterback who's feeling a little shaky psychologically can look at what Shanahan did these last 2 games as a blueprint for how to win in these circumstances. It's really impressive.
I have another topic that's related that I like to bring up. When I listen to you talking to your various other people on these videos, I seem to hear you saying that what Kyle is doing is good now, but you can never really go far with an offense that is essentially horizontal and very, screen passes, stuff like that. I actually disagree.
Okay.
I do, because I want to say that Belichick couldn't stop that. The Rams really didn't stop that. I mean, it seems to me that they run really well and they do a lot of things. Bill Walsh had a very horizontal offense too. He
Mhm.
was, wouldn't you agree?
Well, I wasn't alive back then, but I've heard.
Yeah, you've heard. Anyway, so it's something that we can check on as the season goes on. But I'm saying, I don't know, you know more football X's and O's than I do, but I was pretty impressed the last 2 weeks. I mean, if that's a trainer wheel offense, it seems like pretty good try. I'll ride that Schwinn. It looked pretty good to me.
It's true. I mean, look, they won the NFC Championship game last year throwing 8 times. They
Yeah.
did that. They have an identity, a formula. It works. Maybe they can win the Super Bowl this way. It's a lot of work for Kyle Shanahan. It seems like it's very hard, but he's up for the task. And what choice does he have? So why not? Why can't he keep doing it? I just wonder, will it work when you're going against the best defenses in the league or the best offenses in the league, like Kansas City, and you got to score more? But they just did score 33. So how could you put a limit on what Kyle can do, no matter who his quarterback is?
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. I actually not only give him credit for revising things, but I think I'm not going to rule them out. I was pretty impressed the last 2 weeks. And that's one of the things that impresses me about Kyle Shanahan.
And again, I don't expect this offense to look like this in December. I think it's looking like what it needs to look like to win games now, and they can build on it. And if they do, then that means that they're a contender for sure.
Okay.
What do you admire about Robert Sala?
Oh, I have unbounded admiration for him. I mean, I don't usually give teams a break for injuries. Too bad. That's how it is. But fact is, look at those injuries that he's had, Iggy. I mean, you would know better than I. He's lost a lot, 5, 6 starters.
8. Who's not injured? Warner, Armstead, Mosley. That's it.
Yeah. And not only, I mean, he may have had private moments where it got him down, but it didn't affect him. He didn't go in the tank. He worked around it. He next man up. He came up with very creative and very stout defenses. So I would say the degree of difficulty for him is higher than it was for Kyle Shanahan.
Agree. What impresses me about Sala is, to me, him and Shanahan are opposites in certain ways. Shanahan's always been the X's and O's master, and Sala's been more of big picture, how you deliver the message, how you get your players to play, the effort, all that stuff. But I think people question his X's and O's skills because he came from Seattle, which is like the simplest defense, and he kind of just did what Pete Carroll did. So what I'm impressed with the most with Sala is his evolution. Bill Walsh used to talk to you about it all the time. It's not good enough to have one idea as a coach. You'll get passed up. You have to consistently evolve or you die, basically. And this guy's been this is his 4th year being a coordinator. He's new at it. And what he's doing this year is like a complete 180 from what he was doing when he started. He was a zone defense team. Now he's a man coverage team that sprinkles in some zone. And he won last year. I mean, they used to believe in not disguising coverages, being as simple as possible. Now he's confusing opposing quarterbacks. Cam Newton drops back and doesn't know whether it's man or zone. And that's Sala. I mean, that was stuff he didn't do 2 years ago. I'm really impressed by how quickly he can evolve. I think it's the mark of a really smart coach.
You mentioned about Bill, about evolving, et cetera. One time I was talking to Bill and he said, I don't really respect teams that win on pure power. Bill, they talked about, he had finesse. He said, I don't really respect teams that win on pure power. He says, if you do that, what happens if you meet a team that has more power than you?
Yeah, what's plan B?
What's plan B?
Yeah.
I remember he had contempt in his voice for that.
Right. You should be able to beat any kind of team.
That's right.
Yeah. And the thing about Bill's teams is they weren't always finesse, right? They had Ronnie freaking Lott.
Fred Dean.
Yeah. How do you call that team finesse, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But he did have a very, what do I want to say, sophisticated intellectual offense, at least, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I have a side topic that has to do with Sala, if you're interested. I think it's interesting that I think everyone realizes now that Kyle Shanahan and Robert Sala are both superstars at what they do. They're both really good. And maybe even Sala's doing a better job considering most of the injuries on his or on his side of the ball, but they're both phenomenal. But there's a phenomenon that whenever the Niners lose a game or something goes wrong, really Sala gets all the blame from the media, especially from the fans. Dad, why do you think that is?
I just want to emphasize what you're saying. I have a Twitter account, and a lot of times when the Niners lose a game, you should see people write, you and your son like Sala, he's a bum, blah, blah. It's always that, much more than about Kyle. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say something really weird. I think that Kyle Shanahan is the chosen one.
Yes, absolutely.
He's the chosen. This is a metaphor. He's like the chosen of God.
Yeah, he's Bill Walsh Jr. in Niner fans' hope.
Yeah, okay, Bill Walsh Jr. He's the chosen one. He's the elect. And Sala is just some guy he brought in and tolerated.
Who won't be here forever.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, I talked over you. Who won't be here forever?
Right. Well, neither will Kyle. They're never there forever. There's always an end date for all of them. But he won't be there forever shorter, is what you mean. Anyway, he's not the chosen of God. It's Kyle. So, first of all, does that resonate with you?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. What you're saying is that the fortune of the team depends on Kyle. From the Niners fans' perspective, if he is the chosen one that they believe, everything's going to be okay. And if anything goes wrong, it can't possibly be Kyle's fault because he's King Arthur, he's Harry Potter, he's Jesus Christ, he's in that mode.
King David. He's David. However you want to put it. And Sala is not elect like that. He's not chosen like that. No. So that's how I see it. And what else do you see that I'm not?
Yeah. So why is Kyle Shanahan the chosen one and Sala isn't? Well, Shanahan's the head coach. Yeah. And I think there's a phenomenon with teams that have offensive coordinator head coaches. Usually the defensive coordinator gets all the blame. With the Raiders, that Paul Gunther guy gets all the blame and John Gruden's a little immune. With the Rams, they just got rid of Wade Phillips as if he was the issue, and Sean McVay is still the superstar. I think that's a little bit of that like fans they don't want to criticize Jimmy. They don't want to criticize Kyle. So it just goes to the defensive coordinator by default. And if Sala gets a head coaching job next year, the year after, whoever replaces him is going to be the kicking boy of the fans after that.
And I have one other thing to say. When we say he's the chosen one, he got chosen by Jed York. Now, Jed York, I don't have tremendous respect for, especially after he ran out on the team at halftime that time. It was a cowardly act.
It was.
But the organization is all in with the head coach. And fans, from my point of view, generally support the organization unless they're really awful. They generally support the organization and therefore support whoever they've made the chosen one. And they haven't made Sala the chosen one. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's temporary. Shanahan's got a 6-year contract. They're paying him a lot of money. If he's not what they think that he is, then the Niners have to start over. That's the thing. If Shanahan is a dud and he's not what the Niner fans hope he is, they have to start over from scratch. If Sala's a dud, they can just get rid of him, bring someone else in, and keep it going, right? Yeah. It's a quicker fix.
You know what?
What?
As far as
you're the chosen one.
No.
You're the one from 1945.
Okay, goodbye. I think you're the chosen one on the 49ers beat.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And I think everybody watching knows that.
Even George Kittle's?
Especially, he was down on you because his agent was down on you for reasons we didn't ever understand. And George, 1 week wouldn't take a question from you, but I think it broke his heart. And Iggy, he's really made it up to you.
I like George Kittle's. Yeah, I like George Kittle. I got no problem with Kittle's.
Yeah.
All right. So what I titled this show is, are the 49ers Super Bowl contenders? A couple of weeks ago, we were saying, who can this team beat? Maybe they'll squeak in to the playoffs as a wild card, but they're not going anywhere. Now 2 wins later, we've also talked about how things change 100% in the NFL in the course of 7 days, 14 days. Now, what do we think of the Niners' chances to get to the Super Bowl and win it this year, Dad?
Okay. I before I speak, I'm going to preface this saying, a couple of weeks ago, I wrote him off. I was disdainful. So now I'm going to sound like a real moron. And I don't know. And I'm a moron. I don't know what I'm talking about. I actually believe as of today, this team could go all the way. Why not? They've proven that they have a really good defense in spite of everything. They have an offense that finally really looks very good. I mean, the only team that I think you'd say they really have a tough time would be Tampa Bay in the NFC.
In the NFC, yes.
In the
Even
NFC.
Seattle, we expect the Niners to beat them in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that in the NFC West, any team could beat any team.
Sure. Although I don't think the Rams could beat the Niners. Forget that.
Yes, the Niners have the Rams number. But aside from that, I believe the Niners could beat Seattle and they could beat Arizona.
Or they could lose to either one, too. True.
They could lose. So I'm going to say, except for the little wrinkle with the Rams, all the teams could beat and lose to each other. So yeah. I think in the NFC, the real issue would be Tampa Bay, and you would deal with that when you dealt with it. But I feel that the Niners are certainly good. The way I'm looking at it today, and I could change my mind after Sunday. And please bear with me, people. I don't get paid for this. So if I'm wrong, don't say, well, you get paid for that. Actually, I don't.
No.
So in any,
You're right. Keep going.
Okay. I mean, if you gave me a bottle of wine, that would be payment. That would be nice.
Okay. We'll
make a bet sometime. Yeah. Anyway, I think they could go all the way, and I think they could win the Super Bowl, because what team in the AFC is so great that they would Kansas City?
Kansas City. I mean, that's the team. So, yeah, I mean, why not? Why can't they beat that team?
Well, they should have beaten Kansas City last time.
And, you know, the way I looked at it is that Jimmy crumbled, but the secondary crumbled too. That secondary stunk. It was propped up by the pass rush all year. Sherman crumbled, Tart crumbled, Ward crumbled, Mosley crumbled. With the exception of Mosley, they're all new guys back there. And they're playing a lot better. They have a better secondary this year. They might be better equipped to go up against a team like Kansas City.
You know, there was one other crumbler.
Oh, yeah, that head coach. Got to mention
the head coach. And that's the issue. That's what you can't answer until the Super Bowl. He was a crumbler. In fact, he was crumbler number one.
He was crumbler number one. So it's hard to ever pick a team that's coached by Kyle Shanahan to actually win the Super Bowl. But to get to the Super Bowl, it's starting to look more plausible. I mean, they only have 3 losses. If they win this weekend, as we expect them to, they'll be a game out of first place. Who's this? I mean, they're in last place in the division. They could still win the division. They could finish the season 13-3. Who knows? So seems to me that, as you said, the only team that they really got to worry about in their own conference is Tampa Bay.
They're going to kill Green Bay.
Yeah, I think so. The thing is, Aaron Rodgers is a punk. And if you have a strong pass rush, he'll tap out. But the Niners don't have that anymore. It might be a better matchup, but I still expect him to win.
He is a guy who taps out.
He does. But before I'll get to Rodgers in a second, I want to say why other things I've liked about the Niners, why I'm not writing them off. All people say the injuries. I think the injuries have been good for the Niners in a couple of senses. Now, there's a lot of examples of backups on the Niners being better than starters. And they've gotten a chance to see it. Tavarius Moore, JaMychal Hasty, Jeff Wilson Jr. By the end of this, they're going to know exactly who the best players on their team are. They've seen it in games, and they'll be able to make more educated choices of who to play, which is big. Because I think one of the reasons they lost the Super Bowl last year was they started Tevin Coleman. They didn't get the ball to Mostert enough. They never really understood who the best players were on their team and how much they needed to get them the ball. I think they're getting that sense now. And the other thing is, all these different injuries have forced the Niners to find new ways to beat teams every week. And what their offense looks like this week may not be what it looks like at all in 3 weeks. But a team that has to do that and like scratch and claw and find new ways to win is set up to succeed in the playoffs, because those are the kind of problems you have in January when everyone's hurt at that point.
Iggy, in the Super Bowl, what did you think when Tevin Coleman started?
They're going to lose. Here we go. They're going to lose. They're going to freaking lose.
What the heck is, like, does he know something I don't know? Because, I mean, I'm sure he's a very nice man, but I've never really been impressed with him. And Iggy, I couldn't believe it.
No, and you look at what Jeff Wilson Jr. did on Sunday against the Patriots. We've seen it from him a little bit. He hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities because Tevin Coleman keeps playing. And you wonder, it's like, well, What would this offense have looked like last year if Tevin Coleman had never been on the team and Jeff Wilson could have taken all of his carries? How about that? I mean, I've never seen, I can't remember a Niners running back who ran that hard, Dad. What Wilson did.
Didn't the Niners send out an advisory today that Tevin Coleman is close to coming back?
They don't think he's going to be back in this game, but he might come back for the Green Bay game. That's terrible news, Niner fans. You got to pray to God that they trade him or something. Whew.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry. So
sorry,
that's to me is one of the biggest issues with the Niners. Like, they have all these great players on the bench that don't get playing time. Tavarius Moore, the free safety, he was great against the Patriots. He backs up Jimmy Ward. Dad, do you ever notice Jimmy Ward in the game? No. It's like, yeah, Jimmy Ward was in the game. I don't know. Maybe he played well. I don't know. Tavarius Moore is like, oh, who was that guy who just hit that guy? Oh, 33. Maybe he should play more.
I got a paradox. I just figured out a paradox. It's a Kyle Shanahan paradox.
Okay.
When it comes to his game plan, he's extremely not reckless. He's extremely adventurous. He takes a lot of chances and creative. When it comes to his starting roster, he's extremely conservative and the exact opposite of how he is as a coordinator. In fact, I would say the coordinator head coach wins in spite of the fact that the roster guy is so conservative and meek.
Because to me, the most important player on this team, the player who embodies what this team is the most, is Raheem Mostert. Not Kittle, not Juszczyk, it's Mostert. Because Mostert was the undrafted guy. Mostert was the guy who had no expectations, and Mostert was the guy who seized his opportunity when it was the next man up thing better than anyone really ever has. And that's what the Niners are. They're the next man up team. They're the team that when someone gets hurt, it's just an opportunity for some backup to be even better. They're like the team they're the Wally Pipp team. And Shanahan has to embrace it. He didn't embrace Raheem Mostert until really this year. He had Raheem Mostert going crazy last year and would like stick him at 10 carries, 11 carries, not start him. And I think this year Shanahan's starting to realize, you know what? I don't have to be right. I don't have to be right about Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon, whatever. Just play the best players and I'll get credit for those guys too.
Yeah. What a concept. Play the best players.
What a freaking concept. I know.
When did that concept come in? Why would you play the best players?
I know. To me, it's like, aren't you watching practice or are you just going home and calling your dad and being like, Dad, what should I do this weekend? Who should I play? Your dad's not at practice. He doesn't see Jeff Wilson Jr. every day. He might see him on the iPad or something, but you're there. You feel these guys' presence. You know who the best players are. We see it. You should see it. You're a genius, Kyle. Just play him.
You know what, Iggy? I have no idea how Kyle Shanahan's mind works. Maybe he calls his dad. Maybe he doesn't call his dad. I have no idea. I mean, I don't know how he thinks. I've never talked to him. And plus, Iggy, in the press conferences, he could be a robot talking.
I actually think he's doing a Bill Belichick impression.
Okay.
I think he's doing his best. Like Sean McVay, tell me if you think I'm wrong, but when you see him and watch him, doesn't it seem like he's doing a John Gruden impression?
Yes.
Yes. Like he came up under John Gruden. He seems like he's emulating that style of talking, leading, cadence, whatever. I really think Kyle Shanahan is doing a Bill Belichick impression, talking through his nose, no charisma, lots of insight and details. That's what he sees himself doing. I don't know if he is, but Bill Belichick's no fun to listen to either.
Oh, God. He's a sleeping pill. He's a human sleeping pill.
Yeah. Right? Shanahan's a little bit better than that.
Yeah, and he'll give you more information.
Yes, he's a more long-winded
version. He'll give you more information. He's not defensive the way Belichick is. But I don't get his personality. Is he a giggler? Did you ever see him laugh?
Not really. He's not a big smiler. No. I guess he doesn't have much personality, but I think his argument is, I don't need personality. Bill Belichick doesn't have personality. So Bill Walsh had it, worked for him.
Bill Walsh had several personalities. He had many personalities.
Now that we're talking about personalities, an interesting personality on the team to me is Fred Warner. Oh. He's the leader of the defense. He might be the best player on the team. He's 24 years old, but he doesn't really seem like it. You've never met him. I've met him a bunch of times. I'd be happy to give you my impression, but from afar, your impression of people from afar is much more astute than mine from up close. So I'd love to know what you think of Fred Warner.
Okay. When I see him coming out of a game and on the sideline when he takes his helmet off. He strikes, firstly, he doesn't seem to talk a lot on the sideline. He seems very self-possessed.
Yes.
I would say self-possessed. And the impression I get is he's thinking through possibilities. He's running a tape through his mind, what might happen on the next series or what just happened on the last series, that he's completely dedicated to his work. I see him as serious, earnest. I also see him as taking great pride in his work, great pride, like at the level of Ronnie Lott. And I also see him as not minding giving someone a hit.
Yeah, I agree. Let me write down the adjectives I put together for Fred Warner. He doesn't smile a lot. He's very serious, but he's not aggressive. Like, he's not the kind of guy that you go up to him in his locker and you wonder, is he going to snap at me? He's not going to snap at you. He's thoughtful. He's contemplative. He's guarded. He's professional. It's like talking to a coach or a quarterback. I would put him at that level of seriousness. He knows exactly what he can say, what he can't say, and he doesn't cross that line. Like, George Kittle has a lot of fun. What's up, dog? How you doing, man? That's not Fred Warner. Fred Warner is like the quarterback of the defense, and he is the quarterback of the defense. He's the middle linebacker. He gets the calls. He makes the adjustments, all that stuff. He carries himself like he's Jimmy Garoppolo. I like that.
He's 24. Does he seem 24?
No, he seems like he's 40 years old. He's verbal. He's smart. He sounds exactly like Robert Sala. He exudes leadership and brains. He's really similar to Joe Staley without the ironic twinkle in his eye.
When you said among the adjectives was guarded, what do you mean guarded?
When you ask a question, he doesn't just answer right away. He processes it. He thinks about it. He gives you a good answer, but it's not just like stream of consciousness. He's like a coach. I mean, and Robert Sala's the same way too. Robert Sala's just not going to go blurt out things, you know, and you don't expect that from a 24-year-old linebacker. I mean, a lot of 30-year-old linebackers aren't that self-possessed. That was the word you used.
Is he friendly?
He is friendly. He's not totally
show it. How does he show it?
He'll face you. He'll talk to you. He'll look you in the eye when he talks. He's patient. He's not trying to get you out of there, but he doesn't know. He doesn't use your name. He's a little bit distant. A little bit distant.
It's a business transaction. There's nothing personal about it.
He grew up in San Diego, and I don't know if he's a military brat, but a lot of San Diego people have connections to the military. Is my experience with San Diego people from going to UCLA, and he just strikes me as that kind of guy. He reminds me of like Ron Rivera.
I knew you were going to say that.
Smart and warm, but also businesslike, very businesslike. I really admire him. He seems more mature than me, and I have 8 years on him.
Do you see in the locker room, not that you're there this year, does he have any friends?
Absolutely, yes. Everyone likes Fred Warner. Everyone's like, "Hey, Fred, you want to play video games after practice?" Yeah, sure, absolutely. Nick Bosa would come up to him. He's like the kind of guy people come to him. The unquestioned leader.
And he doesn't go to them.
No. And what's interesting, too, is that Richard Sherman has been the vocal leader of the defense for 2 years, and Warner lets him. But to be the real leader on a team, you got to be the best player. And if Fred Warner has been the leader of this defense for a couple of years, he just hasn't made a big point of it. And when Richard Sherman yells and gets upset, he almost giggles. Like, I remember last year, the Niners almost lost to the Cardinals in Arizona, but didn't. And they lost because the secondary had a big breakdown. And after the game, Richard Sherman just went on this rant at the post-game press conference, how they're not playing well enough, and da-da-da-da. And afterward, the next day, someone asked Fred Warner, "Did you see what Richard Sherman said? And what'd you think?" And he said, "Yeah, that was kind of funny. I laughed." And he was like, "Well, it wasn't funny, but it's like, dude, I got this. This is my defense, dude. I don't know what you think you're talking about, but we're going to do what I say." And I really like that.
And also, I think what it meant was sound and fury signifying nothing. Yeah. Like, it's just a bunch of yelling. It has nothing to do with performing. That's what I've learned being around football teams.
A bunch of yelling from a cornerback who's past his prime, and now it's my turn, and this is how we're going to do things.
Yeah, and I want to remind our viewers, because this is the truth in all team sports, even if you're the best player, if you're injured and not playing, you are then irrelevant. You're actually not even part of the team.
Richard Sherman's been gone since week 1. It's not like he's in the locker room giving pep talks. No, you're just out.
Yeah, you have to be producing in order to show leadership. Otherwise, they think, who the hell are you? That's how it is. Every team sport.
Right, because also every team sport, but especially football. I mean, they all see it as they all see themselves as gladiators and warriors and people who are taking all these hits and bruises and pain. And you don't get to talk about what people need to do unless you're going through that pain too. Unless your name is Joe Staley and they call you up and they're like, Joe, we need your advice. That's the funny thing about the Niners this year is when they were having a leadership crisis, they went to Joe Staley, Dad. And he was there for him. He's like, all right, guys, George, this is what you need to do. Fred, this is what you need to do. That's a nice little wrinkle of this story this season.
Iggy, I want to come back to Fred Warner. Is he the most interesting personality on the roster?
No, not at all. In fact, I don't know his personality. Kittle has a more interesting There's a lot of players who are much more open with their personality than Warner. He's not open with his personality. He's guarded.
That's what you mean by guarded. He'll only show you little windows.
Yeah, he'll answer your question. He'll answer your question in a thoughtful, polite, generous way, but he's not going to give you a huge window into what he's really like.
Okay, tell me someone who has a very interesting personality.
Kendrick Bourne.
Oh, please tell me. I've never met him.
Kendrick Bourne has tremendous self-awareness. He's exuberant, but he knows that he's a backup, and he talked about it today. He's like, I know I'm not the man on this team, but my mindset is that I'm living the dream. So many people would be happy to be me. It's a blessing to be the number 3 receiver on an NFL team. I should love it. I should be happy every day that I'm just here. And Fred Warner doesn't talk about his feelings like that or his outlook on being an NFL player like that. That's the kind of thing you get from the former undrafted free agent who really is here against all odds. I love guys like that.
That's a really interesting story. And I understand what you're saying. He's giving you his deepest, most profound feelings, whereas Warner, they're off limits to you.
Totally.
You don't know his feelings.
No, we don't. Maybe he'll reveal that to people in 20 years, but that's not what he's there for.
I like it.
But what's interesting is, again, Bourne is the backup wide receiver. Fred Warner is the quarterback of the defense. It's just a whole different level of responsibility.
Yes. I'm going to say other personalities. From what I understand, Sala has a very complex personality.
He does.
Sala.
He absolutely does. Yes. I would say that Shanahan has a very simple personality. Sala's very complicated. Sala's political. He could say A and might mean B. You know what I mean?
I've been around a lot of people like that.
He's a lot like that. Yes. You don't always know where he's coming from.
You almost have to interpret what Sala is saying.
Yes, absolutely. Shanahan's not that clever. He's not thinking like that.
Right. Now, when you say Shanahan is simple, I would say the one caution is what he shows is simple.
Yes.
Who the hell knows who he is? We don't even know.
Yes. Yes.
For example, I would really like to know what the relationship is between Shanahan and John Lynch. Do you have any idea? Do you know if they even like each other?
I think they like each other. I think they do like each other and they get along. It's not like Trent Baalke and Jim Harbaugh, but I think there's a little bit of every man for themselves right now in the Niners organization. As soon as Kyle got that extension before John, it's like, yeah, we're friends, but get your own money, buddy. Secure your own future. So I don't know how deep that friendship is. Lynch could be gone in a few years, and then, they'll be, how often will they talk then? Who knows?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know. Shanahan's very interesting. Who knows who his real friends are? There was a little detail today that apparently, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a portion of practice where he actually is the quarterback. Everyone's kind of running through what they're going to be doing in practice, and he goes and throws passes to the defense, and basically gets intercepted a lot. And he wants to do it because he has such a good understanding of the offense. He understands where the ball should go on any play, given what the defense is doing. Apparently, John Lynch went on KNBR and said that he's found Kyle Shanahan watching tape in his offense of himself playing quarterback in practice. What does that
mean?
What does that mean, Dad? I think that's a window into Kyle Shanahan's personality. I think
it
Kyle
certainly
Shanahan
indicates An ego.
Yeah. Yes. I think Kyle Shanahan really sees himself as an athlete, Dad. Remember, he was a wide receiver at Texas. I don't know if he ever caught a pass in the game or if he actually merited a scholarship or if, the coach just needed to do Mike Shanahan a favor or wanted to do Mike Shanahan a favor because he'd get one later. But he was a college athlete. He played wide receiver and he plays quarterback for the 49ers in practice and reviews the film of himself afterward. That is something else. I mean, I don't even really review the film of myself talking, which is what I do for a living. He's really into his spiral and his footwork and his release point. Dad.
Iggy, that is kind of wonderful.
Kind of wonderful.
Yeah,
it's kind of wonderful. So now we know him a little bit better. We understand him a little bit better.
When they come over for dinner and he's at the children's table, Kyle, I'm perfectly happy to move my chair over and sit he can't come to the big table yet, but I'd like to get to know him. I'll bring him over something to drink and we can sit at the children's table. We let Mariucci go into my seat at the big table for a while and I'll sit.
Right. Once you've eaten your salad and you've had enough of your entree and you've had a couple of glasses of wine and you've talked to the grown-ups that you needed to converse with, then you'll go over and say hello to the children's table, sit next to Kyle. You won't stand over him. You'll pull up your chair.
No, I'll pull up a chair and I'll say hello to Jed. I'll ask him if he's having a good time.
Yes, Jed. At the high seat, and you make sure that he doesn't knock over his juice and.
So he'd be like Jed will be in a high chair. Like
I think when you walk out on your team at halftime, you don't even get to sit at the children's table. You got to sit at the high chair with the bib on, and you got to make sure that you don't get Gerbers all over your face, and you don't throw it on the ground. I think Jed, you got to make sure you just don't make a mess, Jed. Just get the food in your mouth.
Look, Iggy, I think you're a hater.
I'm a hater. You're a hater. I should have left that game at halftime too. If I was a true 49ers fan, I wouldn't have done my job that day. I just would have left. But I'm not a fan. So I guess I'm just not as passionate about the team as Jed York.
Do you get the feeling we've done it today?
I think we've done it.
Okay. I'm going to call you in a minute.
All right, Dad. Talk in a second.
Well, wait a minute. Does anybody want to ask any questions?
Yeah, does anyone ask us a question? Because we're here and we're live. So what do you say? Let's give them a minute. Let's give them a minute to see if they got some questions. Let's see. Let us see. Let's see. Hang on. This isn't a great question, but it's not bad either. Chris, do you guys think the Niners play better on the road? The Niners are undefeated on the road, are they not?
Certainly this year they've played better on the road, but I don't know that there's any meaning to it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any meaning to it either. It's just interesting that if you remember a couple of years ago, they could not win on the East Coast. 2 years ago, they went 0-8 on the East Coast. Now they can't win at home. God knows why. Maybe not having fans is a thing, but they're so prepared to go into New England and win by 27. That was amazing. I didn't expect that. Let's see what other questions we got. Joseph 209 says Lowell is cute. He's more than cute. He's a big macher.
I'm going to be 75 in a few days.
That's right.
You can't call anyone 75 cute. We're having a big birthday party on Friday night.
What happens when Richard Sherman gets back, Dad?
Oh, hold on. Dennis
Vasquez.
That's a really good question.
I like that question.
What should happen is he should be on the bench.
I agree.
But with the way Shanahan handles a roster, he might start him. So What do you think, Iggy?
2019 Shanahan would have fast-tracked Richard Sherman back onto the field. 2020 Shanahan, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he has a better feel for who should be on the field and it won't make a stupid decision. I think that I don't even know what Richard Sherman's health is right now, but I have a feeling that even if he were healthy, they'd be like, Richard, we're doing great without you. We may need you down the line, but we don't need you now. I'm not saying that they are, but I'm saying that's what I would say to him right now if you were saying, guys, I want to play. Okay, well, maybe in a few weeks if someone gets hurt, but right now you're on a need-to-know basis. We'll call you. Don't call us.
Follow-up question. Is he coming back this season?
I don't think he is. My guess is he's a free agent at the end of the year. He's got a calf injury, which is close to an Achilles. He's torn that before. I think he wants to get to free agency next year healthy so he can get one more contract. And if I were him, I would feel the same way. So I think unless the Niners are desperately need him, they'll bring him back. But I think I would guess that he's already kind of looking ahead to the next job, the next contract. And the Niners have totally changed their defense without him. Like when he was on the field, he was great at what he did, but he limited what everyone else could do because he only plays zone coverage. Now that he's gone, they're a man coverage team or a team that plays both, and they can't be that with him on the field. I think a big reason they lost week 1 to the Cardinals is because he was in the game. They had to play zone coverage, and DeAndre Hopkins was just running around uncovered. Now they always have a guy marking people like that, and they're better. So, Richard, we'll call you if we need you.
That's what I think.
Yeah. And from his perspective, he can say, okay, well, the Niners are moving on from me, but I'm moving on from them. I'm going to get a contract next year. I'm going to get $10 million more and be set. Hey, good luck for you, Richard. I hope you do.
And listen, Iggy, I haven't talked to Sala. Obviously, I've never talked to him, but he's a smart guy. He must be thinking, I'm better without Richard. I like Richard Sherman. He does, but I actually have more options without him. I mean, if it occurred to you, it occurred to him.
I'm sure he would have loved to coach Richard Sherman 5 years ago when he was in his prime. He was one of the best cornerbacks of all time. But now to have Richard Sherman on your team, making all that money, $10, $11 million a year, being a leader in your locker room, you almost have to call defenses to cater to him. Because if you don't, what's going to happen? What's he going to do? What effect is that going to have if he's disgruntled? Now that he's gone, forget it. I can do what I need to do and not have to worry about your feelings or your ego or your reputation, things like that.
I like it. I like what you're saying. That was a very good topic.
That was a great topic, Dennis. Let's see. Poetry with Reason says, do you think the 49ers will beat the Seahawks? Poetry, I got to tell you, I got a surprise for you. When this is over, you watch it again. We're going to talk about that for about 20 minutes. I promise. I promise. A lot of these are super inside football questions. I'm sorry. Who should the Niners trade for? I don't know.
Johnny Unitas.
Johnny Unitas. Hold on. Stay with me, Dad. Stay with me.
No, I have nowhere to go. It's kind of hot down. I'm here in my office. It's hot. I'm going to loosen up a little bit, Iggy. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's your career. My career is over. Okay.
Who will be the star this week for the 49ers?
Who will be the star this week for the 49ers? Garoppolo.
Why? Because he has to be.
He has to be. In addition, I think he can pass against this defense, and I think he's beginning to improve. Yeah. So I'm saying Jimmy G. Who do you say?
Jimmy G. Okay, I got two names. One, the wide receiver, the rookie, Brandon Ayuk. Deebo Samuel's out. I think he's fantastic. He had 115 receiving yards against the Patriots. I think he's going to get even more touches this week, and I think he's going to be great. I think he's even better than Deebo Samuel, and now he's going to get a chance to prove it. The other guy that I think is going to be a star is this rookie running back, JaMychal Hasty. He hasn't started yet. Jeff Wilson Jr. started last week and deserved a start. He was great, but he's hurt, and JaMychal Hasty probably should start this game. I love watching that little kid, that little number 38 go. He's so explosive and quick and fast. I think he's better than any running back the Seahawks have. And if the Niners do what they do, which is run the ball a lot, he could have 100 yards.
I love it. I love it. That was a good question. Good answer.
Good question. Good answer.
Good answer.
What else we got? Could Grant and Sala team up to be coaches?
Here's the thing. I haven't noticed that Grant's a coach.
Nah.
He's what I call a journalist.
Yeah.
But he does have tremendous understanding of football. So if Sala wants to hire him,
why not?
Why not?
Why not? Dad, I have a bonus question. I have a question for you, and then we'll end on this one. Dad, do you think the 49ers coaches watch these videos?
Absolutely.
Why?
Okay. First of all, curiosity. Second of all, you really know a lot about football. And I think Shanahan and Sala, I think they know it. I am convinced they watch your grades or read your grades. I have no question. I'd almost bet the mortgage on that one.
Okay.
But on this, I really think those two coaches, I don't know about the assistants, I don't know them. They want to know what Grant Cohn thinks, not Lowell, who they don't know me, what Grant thinks of them. And I think, I'm going to say something bold, and I don't think those two really care much what the other journalists think of them because they're not extremely opinionated. They're
Exactly.
They're beat writers. That they're doing their job the way they do it.
Yes.
Grant is both a beat writer and a columnist in one. And I think they really want to know what your opinions are. And if you like them, they feel good. And if you criticize them, it pisses them off, but it motivates them. That's what I think.
Yeah. And I think that they notice that I'm constantly trying to give them constructive criticism, like not just what they did wrong, but what they need to do to win or to do that. And I think, first of all, that's really rare to come from a journalist. Most writers don't even presume to give tips to someone in a field that they're not in. But the other thing is, my suggestions are good. They're right on, and they have to know that. I've been covering this team. I've been covering them for 4 years. There can't be a coincidence that I say all week, guys, you want to get your offense going, you got to get Kyle Juszczyk involved. He's not just a blocker. He's a receiver. He's a ball carrier. All of a sudden, he gets 4 carries and 2 targets. No, there's no coincidence there. It was a good suggestion. They took it. And I think the thing is, like, there's a lot of coaches in the league that wouldn't have good suggestions. Kyle could call his buddy in Tampa or wherever and say, hey, man, my team's 2-3. Things are really sputtering. I really could use an outside perspective. What do you think? A lot of guys like that wouldn't have necessarily helpful suggestions. I think it's rare for a coach to have anyone who can look at his team and say, you're doing this, you're missing this. And I imagine that he and his dad see things so similarly. Him and his underlings see things so similar because everyone is so in awe of Kyle Shanahan, that organization. I might be the only one who says, Kyle, I respect you, but I don't agree with you. I don't look at football the same way. This is how I would do it. Take it for what it's worth. And sometimes I think he takes it.
And I'm going to add one thing. I think Kyle is smart enough to know that you're talking to people.
No question.
That you're talking to people.
No question.
That when you give a suggestion, it's either your suggestion or somebody who's not necessarily into Kyle, who's an old veteran from the league, has said, have you thought about this?
Yes.
Has Kyle thought about this?
Yes.
And I think from early on, Kyle knew that you were talking in stereo.
That's right. And to me, one of the things Kyle Shanahan lacks in this organization is someone like that. An old veteran. I don't know what you would call it. Basically Yoda, the guy who knows more than you, who doesn't look at football the same way as you, who can speak up in a meeting and say, hey, Kyle, I disagree. You're wrong. Let's talk it out. Bill Walsh would have opposing viewpoints. I don't know if he
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Bruce Arians down in Tampa has Tom Moore, who was the offensive coordinator for the Colts and the Steelers. It's something. And Kyle has his dad, but they think too much alike. They need someone like me and my sources. And I think that, I don't know. I mean, they're not hanging on every word. Well, what does Grant say this week? Because we can't do our game plan until Grant said, but I'm sure they're peeking like, Grant said this, huh?
Yeah, and is it his idea? Did he get it from someone else? Because the people he's talking to seem to know what they're talking about, and they look at things different from us. So you are either Yoda or the conduit for Yoda.
And this isn't new. When Harbaugh was here after a few years, he got the picture too. Remember, I think in year 3, there was an issue where Kaepernick was getting sacked a lot. I think there was a game where he got sacked 6 times. And I was like 25. I during a press conference, I said, Jim, why aren't you moving the pocket? Why aren't you calling bootlegs and rolling Colin Kaepernick out? If he's getting sacked 6 times, why don't you switch up the launch point so the defense doesn't know where he is? I'm using all this coach jargon that I
was getting it.
Yeah, and he looks at me and he Shanahan wouldn't argue with you. Harbaugh would argue with you. And he said, well, I do move the pocket. And I said, well, you moved it 1 out of every 10 snaps. I mean, how about more than that? And he said, well, why is that not enough? Why is that not enough? So he's argumentative with me during that day on a Wednesday. But on Sunday, we go to New Orleans. They played in New Orleans. And I don't remember what year it was, but he calls a bootleg rollout pass for Kaepernick to Vernon Davis, and it's a touchdown.
Vernon Davis, yeah.
It's a touchdown. And Someone on the 49ers staff was so excited when that touchdown happened, jumped up, spun to us and said, Grant, that was for you. Then
Yep, I was there.
Then he turned back around, came back to us and said, don't write it. Oh my God, please don't write that I said that. Do not write that I said that. Because he was revealing that the coaches do read up my stuff, our stuff, and take it to heart sometimes. It was a good suggestion. Get him out of the freaking pocket. He's Colin Kaepernick. He's one of the better rollout throwers of his era. And I was right. They scored 7 points, but they didn't send us any type of thank you, check, nothing. But we did treat ourselves that night. We went to Commander's Palace afterwards. Ooh, that's my favorite restaurant in the country.
That's right. We were completely in jeans and we didn't have jackets. And we were going over in the cab. And the lady, when you made the reservation, said, are you aware of our dress policy, right? And you said you were aware of it. You answered our question. And then when we came in, they said, what the heck? And they put us, we had that waiter, Peter.
Yeah, that's the thing. In California, people aren't nice. They pretend to be nice. They're not nice. If you try to pull that in California, they might turn you away. Yeah. But in the South, they have that whole like Southern hospitality thing. They're like, whatever, come on in. We'll put your bags over here. And then like the waiter comes out. And then the waiter's assistant comes out. And then the general manager comes out. And then the owner comes out. And it's not just because we're like famous.
The owner sat with us.
Yeah, they just do the rounds. It's like, that's how serious they take service. And that waiter that you mentioned, he is a career waiter who's making probably like $150,000 a year and probably inherited the job from his dad and will pass it on to his son. Go to Commander's Palace if you've never been to New Orleans. It's worth it.
In New Orleans, yeah, that's the place to go. In the Garden District. Iggy, I'm burning up down here.
All right, Dad. Go upstairs. I'll call you.
I'll call you right now.
All right. Love you. See you.
Love you. See you, everybody. This was fun.
All right. Take care.